Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
At Jewelers Mutual, we're a little obsessed with jewelry. Obsessed like auctioneers with talking fast.
50, we're going to sold.
Pop stars with auto-tune.
Yeah.
And dentists with asking questions.
So, how did he propose?
After they've put their hands in your mouth.
What?
Great.
Yes, we've made jewelry our obsession for over 100 years. We love it so much we named our kids Ruby, Amber, and Opal.
Venti soy latte for Opal?
At Jewelers Mutual, we insure jewelry and only jewelry, which is why people who are also obsessed with jewelry trust us with theirs.
Of all the streaming services out there, only one is different. Discovery Plus. It's the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes of food, love, true crime, home, from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Yes! With stars like Chip and Jo, an exclusive new series from 90 Day Fiancé, all in one place. Bam! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
ChristopherMedia.net.
From Asthmacore Studios near Detroit, Michigan, it's Unregimented.
Gangsters, what's up, guys?
And now, here are your hosts.
Welcome to Unregimented number 271. I'm Chris.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Rich.
Thank you for that introduction, Chris podcast.
What?
Sorry, that was my Trump joke for the week. He called Tim Cook Tim Apple.
Oh.
Thank you to Tim Apple. That.
So just their name and then their company?
Yeah.
Well, just because that's the format of his name doesn't mean that's the format of everybody's name.
Right. He's like, I couldn't figure out any other reason why the company would be called Apple. It's a dumb name. Figured must be their family name.
Yeah. Like Gwyneth Paltrow's kid.
So
or either that or Trump just puts his name on everything so much he thinks that's what everyone else does.
Yeah.
Boy, this is going to be a fun weekend, huh? For if you're on social media, like there's a number of things to entertain you. If you're not entertained by flipping vans and throwing cheese at babies, there's plenty of memes about Manafort and R. Kelly and who else? Well, Michael Jackson's back in the news again. Wait, should we just start with the R. Kelly shit because
losing his shit? Yeah, that's one way to put it. Trying to oversell it, maybe?
The first thing I saw on this was a still photo of him looking like he was about to fucking take off into the air. Like he was on his tippy toes. I thought he was shouting at somebody off camera, but I think he was just shouting directly at the camera. And so I had to see what this was about. And what's her name that did the interview?
Gail. Oprah's wife.
Oh, that's Gail that everyone is associating with Oprah all the time? Okay.
That is the infamous Gail.
Boy, she looked like a cool cucumber. I mean, in the little bit of the interview that I saw, and the still photo kind of represents that. Like, she doesn't give into his ridiculousness. She tries to get him back on track. I don't know who could have done a better job. What are you going to do? Try and shout the guy down at that point?
It just seemed, I know it was supposed to come off as spur of the moment, and
right. He's breaking down.
Yeah, he's so full of emotion.
Yes, I got a big heart. That's what's wrong with me. I hope you have an enlarged heart. Maybe you'll die early.
I think possibly because of her reaction. And the fact that it's R. Kelly, and I've seen him with his nonsense in music videos and crying on stage and, all this shit before. I'm like, I don't buy it. It just comes off as like very planned, contrived.
I don't buy it either. I think it escalated because he was trying to play off of her and realizing that he was getting nowhere and probably thinking like, I got to ratchet it up a little bit. So she'll, that's because I think that he thinks in his mind, I'm going to go on national TV, I'm going to cry it out, and America's going to forgive me because they love me, because I can move and I can sing, and I got this. And, history may have proven that to be so. I think we've given a lot of leeway to our entertainers in the past.
Yeah, a little bit. one of the podcasts I listened to has brought up a very good point. Me Too seems to exist everywhere but in the music world.
It's kind of bizarre how much, I mean, Ryan Adams recently was one of the bigger ones.
Mm-hmm.
But even that was kind of weak.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, yeah, it seemed abusive, but more on the type of, like, just kind of controlling, right?
Well, wasn't she like 14?
Who is 14?
The chick Ryan Adams was talking to.
He was talking to a 14-year-old?
Yeah, she was underage, I believe.
Yeah. Like creep.
Jesus, what is it with these fucking musicians? And I mean, because this is nothing new. I mean, Jimmy Page did it. Ted Nugent did it. You know, I mean, these musicians and these like 14-year-old girls, when they're like,
let's start with the ones who haven't. It's a shorter
30.
list.
Yeah, you know. I mean,
we still romanticize it. I mean, look at how many people love Almost Famous, and it's just fucking wall-to-wall pedophilia.
Yes, and then too, look at Jerry Lee Lewis, Elvis.
Yeah,
I mean, there's even a story about Anthony Kiedis floating around.
That's the thing. Like, I can see where R. Kelly's brain might have gotten to. I can get away with this, and why I mean, honestly, I thought that he was kind of playing it pretty well for as much as he get, because he's not doing a lot of these interviews and shit. Like, that's probably the best. There's no winning when you're accused of shit like this anyway, right? It's either just remain silent or open your mouth and make everyone think that, oh yeah, he did it. Whether you admit it or not, I can tell that guy did it. Look at him. He looks like a child molester.
Okay, let's put it on Front Street here. There's no way you could admit that you've seen even stills from the video that he was prosecuted for, that he was, eventually acquitted on, without admitting that you've watched child porn. Okay, but I have it on very good authority from people whose opinion I trust, who know R. Kelly, who are like, I've seen the video. That was fucking R. Kelly, like right there.
Yeah, didn't he try to say it was his brother?
Yeah, and then he tried to put it off on his brother, and the prosecutor was like, no, we're not putting up, no.
Can you imagine being his brother? Probably hearing that shit on the news. What?
My brother would have called the judge, been like, it wasn't me. I got another video that proves it was him from a different angle. He shows his ID, his social security card. Like, I'm going to prove that's not me. I'm not going to jail for you, bro. That would be my brother.
That guy can't be me because his knuckles aren't all bruised from beating the fuck out of his own brother.
But yeah, he tried to put it off on his own brother, and it's like, no. Even the prosecution and the cops were like, fuck out of here. We can put you to. Okay, do you think we're the whitest of white people, where you can just go, it's another black person who I'm related to, and they're like, oh yeah, we all look alike. So I mean, yeah, it's no.
You could probably get an expert to identify him by his hip movements.
Like they said in the Boondocks episode.
We studied all your live footage from your shows and compared it to the way this man humps on video.
Like when the Boondocks did the trial of Robert Kelly, they showed like a cartoon version of the video, and one of the jurors is like, "Oh shit, he got freckles and everything." So, it's like, obviously the people who did that video or who did that cartoon had seen that video and was like, "It's fucking R. Kelly." Okay.
He had the gateway box penis like Michael Jackson. He's easily identifiable.
But this is once again, and I agree. Musicians, once they reach a certain level of success, live in whatever their name is world. They no longer inhabit the real world. They live in a world where they make so much money, and they have so much money, that the people around them are afraid to tell them no. The people around them are afraid to tell them they're fucking up.
Is it also because, like, music is more segmented by age group than other forms of art? Movies, like, Marvel movies, everybody's going to see that shit. if a story comes out about somebody in fucking Vampire Weekend, then they're probably going to lose ticket sales. But it's not going to stop an Eagles reunion from happening, because the people who are going to see the Eagles or other bands of that generation don't give a fuck about any of this.
Well, yeah.
Like, this Me Too shit only really affects you if your audience are like millennials or younger, and maybe that's why we've seen it not so much in the music industry as we have others. That's just a theory. I don't know. Am I crazy?
Well, I mean, to me the worst accusations against R. Kelly is not that he's a dick to the women he's in a relationship with. Okay, there's plenty of people who are assholes to each other's in relationships.
Yeah,
that's not a crime. A crime is fucking 13-year-olds, and it's been a very poorly kept secret amongst music industry people for decades now. I remember hearing about this on Loveline in the 90s when they were talking about him marrying Aaliyah, that if you go backstage after an R. Kelly concert, there will be hundreds of just dime piece, scattered ass trying to get his attention, and he will find the 13-year-old with the glasses and the acne and go over and start spitting woo at her. I mean, this is a guy who, for whatever reason, likes women of a certain age. For whatever, whether it's a power trip, if it's a domination trip, if it's maybe it's something weird, like he thinks that if he's with them and they're this innocent, then they can't do him wrong or something. I don't know.
I think it's just an issue, and if I were to guess, right, I believe that it's not, the age thing is just about how easily controlled they may be, right? If he could find, 25-year-olds that were as gullible as 15-year-olds, he'd probably go for them too. And I don't really mean that as a defense. I'm just, that's just the feeling that I get from it. And there's not really much of a distinction either. I wouldn't use those as sentencing guidelines if he was found guilty of anything. Like, he committed the crime either way.
Well, I mean, look, we're all guys, okay? And especially as we get older and cultural norms shift into generations that are younger than us, I'm sure we've all been over the age of whatever, 17, 18, and seen a chick and been like, oh shit. And someone be like, she's 15, bro. And you're like, oh fuck, man. All right, dude. That's it.
Between a 15 and a 17-year-old?
Dude,
I've been there. I've done that. Like, what? That's
you know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's
nothing.
It's one thing to go, oh, that chick's hot. That chick's 15. Okay, fuck.
Well, it's about.
But you don't follow through with the shit.
Sometimes statutory laws like this get abused, but because we adhere to the letter of the law and not the actual meaning behind it, the intent behind the law. The intent behind the law is, let's not have older guys, or even in some cases older women, preying upon kids who are gullible, who will believe these lies or whatever they have to feed them, or just are attracted to the attention that they're getting. So, if like a 19-year-old is dating a 16-year-old, even though that falls outside of the statutory laws, I still think that there's probably nothing going on there, right? I don't think there's any intent behind this. I don't look at a 19-year-old as like, especially not these days, a 19-year-old. I mean, my dad at 19 was married and had a job, and I was being born. That was kind of a different time. Today's 19-year-old, still a fucking kid. And even when I was 19 years old, I had to be, kicked out of the house, go do something. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how we got down this anyway.
Well, no, it's because
we're not talking about statutory. We're talking about straight up, this guy's way too old to be diddling around with these girls.
He's 52.
Yeah.
I mean, and when he was 27, 29, when he married Aaliyah, she was 15. No, Aaliyah was fine as fuck. But Like, I'm like,
She had an album and a song called Age Ain't Nothing But a Number.
hello. Yeah, he what? Co-wrote or co-produced?
Yes.
Like, shocked? You know, here, honey, sing this. We're going to put this out as your first single.
I was going to call it My Alibi.
Yeah.
We had to change it.
You know, and the man is so self-unaware that in the midst of his trial for that video, he puts out an album called Chocolate Factory. All right. And it's like he alludes to relieving himself on women in that album. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? Are you serious right now? Like, this might as well be your version of If I Did It. You know what I'm saying? Just an album form. That's what this is, you know? And
what, Eminem talks about killing his mom. Yeah, but his mom's alive.
Yeah, exactly.
Kim is still breathing.
Yeah. I love the Snoop Dogg interview when they're like, so what'd you think when you first heard the song Kim? And he just starts laughing. He's like, that motherfucker wrote a song about killing his wife. He's like, who here ain't felt like killing their wife? Let's be honest. And I was like, that, you know, okay, Snoop, that's a valid point. May not be a popular opinion, but it's a valid point. We all have that, you know, this is how I would take her out if I were to, you know, I'd put the pillow over her head, put the silence pistol, the feathers would float up, very cinematic, and I'd just like kiss her and close her eyes, and you know. Not that I've given any thought to any of this ever in my life when I was in a relationship, but no, I mean, you know, exactly. And I think that some of the internet defense I've heard of him, because I've yet to run into anybody face to face who will defend this man and his practices with, you know, 14, 15-year-old girls. The internet defenses I've heard is, you know, well, when he married Alila, you know, they were only, you know, 12 years apart and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, so what? No, every guy who was 18 who fucked a 15 or 16-year-old in high school, you're a criminal too. It's like, okay, wait a minute.
They didn't do it when they were 30.
Exactly. You just tried to defend him saying it's only 12 years apart, and then gave an example of 2 to 3 years apart where people would have met in high school, which is, let's be honest, most women in high school, most girls in high school, however you want to phrase it, don't tend to date younger guys. They tend to go for older guys. All right? End of story. So to try to equate the two is just cognitive dissonance on such a level I can't even comprehend. And I'm like, really? Can't you just like his music and go, he's a piece of shit? I can do that. You know, I like
doing Michael Jackson for 20 years.
Even though I did used to tell people, like, when it first come out about Michael Jackson, all these, you know, rumors that were starting to seem like there was a little bit more to him. It was like I was sitting in like Tower Records looking at Off the Wall going, had he diddled the kid by this point? Is it okay to buy this album? Because by bad, he'd been up in some kid's booty hole. So I was like, I can't buy bad with a good conscience, but can I buy Off the Wall? You know? And Thriller, that's where it gets really weird. That's when he started making that Neverland money. So, you know.
He's able to buy his Ferris wheel and his zoo.
And his elaborate alarm system as you walk down the hallway to his room of horrors.
And his giraffe.
So...
can we just be honest and shame the devil here? Tell the truth, shame the devil? Most of his defenders I see online are older black women. And I think that speaks to what you were saying. It's a generational thing. You know, they grew up with him. They love his music. Maybe they want to fuck him.
He had there was 2 women interviewed by Gail King, that these women are, what are their current ages? They're like 23 and 21. Although one of them does admit to meeting R. Kelly when she was 17 and convincing him that she was 18. I'm sure
it didn't take a lot of convincing.
Yeah. Right.
How old
Especially
are you?
not
18.
No, R. Kelly does not ask how old you are. I'm sure he says, "You're 18, right?"
So what we're going to tell your parents is that, yeah, you told me you were 18. That's what we're going to say.
Right. So these two women went on TV to defend his character, basically, to, I don't know, tell the world that they're not being held captive, that he's actually a nice guy. Other than that, I haven't really heard much reasonable defense of this guy at this point.
No, and like I said, I've not heard anyone face to face try to defend this man. You know what I'm saying? Like, to go, oh yeah, no, it's okay what he did. Like, everybody's like, oh, he's a sick fuck. Like, all jokes aside.
Well, he's being held right now because he owes like $150,000 in child support. But he's also being investigated by the Detroit police because they have a witness that has come forward that they are, working on getting a solid statement from, that is a 13-year-old girl who says that she had some sort of relationship with R. Kelly. 13.
Yeah. She's currently 13? Or in the last few years? Because, I mean, isn't there a statute of limitations?
Well, there's not a whole lot of information here because, like I said, they're investigating it.
Yeah, and they're not going to release it while it's still an open investigation.
Allegations that Mr. Kelly had sex with a 13-year-old girl in Detroit in 2001.
I mean,
I'm going with the shower. I'll be right back.
I have no idea whether it happened or not. But just from a logistics standpoint, unless you got some hard evidence, good luck trying to prove that in a court of law, because that is a strictly he said, she said situation. Like, unless money exchanged hands with her parents or there's a video or photos somewhere, I mean, it's her word versus his. I mean, and those are the roughest cases to prove.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, in 2001, she was 13 then.
Yeah, the statute of limitations in Michigan or Detroit.
I thought it was 5 years after you turned 18. So basically, till you were 23. After that, statute of limitations were up. Maybe I've watched too much SVU. Maybe that's New York law, or it was. Or it wasn't.
Things are different from state to state. I do know that.
Yeah, I mean, some states have the Romeo and Juliet law, which he still wouldn't apply for in 2001. He's not within 3 years of her age.
Because, like, in California, isn't it like 10 years or something like that? Like I say, it's different in every state for statute of limitations.
But, I mean, yeah, he's what, 50? How old is he, Chris? You said
he's
in
his 50s, yeah.
Let's say 52. Okay, so he was 30? 31 at the time, possibly? 13? No. There's no defense for that, man. Come on now. There's no fucking way. There's no way. You are R. Kelly at that point in his career. I Believe I Could Fly had already come out. Okay, he could put any woman he wanted through a vetting process and make damn sure he wasn't sticking his dick in anything that young. There is no defense for that, none whatsoever. So shit. This may be one of them situations where he gets convicted in one state. And then the other state's like, yeah, when he's done serving his time, send his ass here and we're going to try him. And then he gets convicted in another state and he gets to do his time here. I mean, if that's the case, that man probably is never getting out of prison. 13, I think that's like 15, 20 years. So, I mean, that puts him in his 70s right now.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, man.
But it's kind of insane because, we went through kind of similar thing with Michael Jackson, and while he was still alive, there was a whole court case and everything. And it doesn't seem like until now does the whole truth start coming out that people are actually willing to talk about this after he's been dead for how fucking long now?
10 years this summer.
Yeah. 10 years. And now we're getting, I feel like this is just going to be the same story all over again. Maybe some of these charges will stick enough to get him into court, but like you're saying, Rich, a lot of this shit is really hard to prove. And then, 10 years after either he's dead or his career is so washed up that nobody gives a shit about him anymore, then we'll finally get the documentary about what really happened. And these kind of things only happen when you have a lot of enablers around people that are willing to participate, to cover shit up.
Oh, yeah.
This shit doesn't happen to normal people because they don't have people, like a whole group of people who are being paid by them on their payroll.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's having the resources. I mean, it's another parallel with the Michael Jackson story. An army of people
to
cover up everything.
Do you remember when we were listening to on Sporgy a couple of years ago to Herm Edwards do the rookie symposium?
Yep.
Where he was breaking down to rookies. And what this is, Aaron, and for people who maybe aren't really sports people, the NFL has what they call a rookie symposium.
It's orientation.
Yes, and they basically they take former players, former coaches, former GMs, or current GMs and coaches, and they have them sit all the rookies down, and they go, look here, you're entering a world that you have no idea about. You have a ton of money, you have a ton of spotlight on you. You can't act like you did in high school, and you damn sure can't act like you did in college because all hell will come raining down on you. And I mean, Herm Edwards flat out told people, he's like, if you just signed a $15 million contract, then you got to keep one person in your entourage who's going to take the fall for any dumb shit that happens. And you tell them, I got your bail, your pay lawyer, and if you have to do time, I got everything on your commissary. Because if not, and something happens and the finger gets pointed at you, you're the one who's going to have to fall on that sword.
Right, but the difference there being that because if you fuck up and you're an NFL player, you're reflecting bad on the organization, and they're going to feel like they have to do something about you. You can get fired.
Yeah,
you can get
Michael
fined.
Jackson,
You can get
Kelly
suspended.
are their own entity.
Well, kind of. I mean,
they're their own corporations.
Yeah, R. Kelly can't fire himself from being R. Kelly.
Right. And certainly even more so in this day and age, he can self-publish and handle all of his own shit. He doesn't even need a label. Anyone with a name that big doesn't truly need a label. They can just start their own company and distribute their own shit. So, and even if the label's still not going to do anything anyway. They're not going to drop an artist that's still selling. I mean, I don't know. Maybe something's happened with this Ryan Adams thing where he's actually, been dropped by his label or whatnot. But
no, because guess what? He was his own label
that nobody cares about anymore. Yeah, exactly. I'm sure he released stuff on a major label. I know that he's done like at least one major label release, but yeah, most indie artists are going to have their own label to do, whatever, singles on the side or shit like that, to do their own shit or friends shit. So, I mean, you not only do you not have that kind of accountability to a bigger entity in the music industry, you have even less of it now. Even when you did have some accountability to a major label, they're willing to sweep it under the rug anyway. So who gives a fuck? If it gets out, it's just going to be a great story for Rolling Stone. And if anything, it's probably going to escalate the sales of that artist.
I said, by the way, Sony dropped R. Kelly in January. Slow down.
Right. Well,
only took 25 years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've been talking for decades about R. Kelly stories, and Sony's been fine with it this whole time. And only now are they pulling out. And what's going to happen? I mean, ultimately, unless this guy goes to jail, he's probably going to continue to sell records and tour and do whatever he wants. And now he can just do it on his own. Doesn't have to pay the fucking label. Sony just won't get any of that money.
Well, I know that there's I don't know how far-reaching it is, but there is a mute R. Kelly movement to where people are protesting different venues he's tried to have shows at in the last year or so, and a few have actually canceled, like bigger venues, like venues that would be comparable to like LCA here in Detroit.
In Detroit, I believe he had a sold-out show.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in general, I support an art. Like, if you're not convicted of a crime and nobody can prove anything on you, then you should be allowed to pursue your career and, live the American dream. I mean, we have this system of law that we can use as a tool, but then we can completely disregard when we feel like it's failed us, and instead just purely judge a person in the court of public opinion.
Well, that's all. I mean, isn't it kind of as fucked up as this is going to sound? Isn't it kind of a big part of American history? And I'm not just talking like racial lynchings. I'm talking like Wild West outlaw lynchings. They come and the sheriff's like, no, stop, don't. And, the posse's like, oh, we don't think so. And they string them up themselves. Right.
I mean, I believe a lot of the shit that I've heard about R. Kelly, but
yeah, I don't think that
I don't think that he belongs in jail until enough evidence is found to put him in jail. If the system's broke, if the system can't put lock down a person with this type of reputation, then either there's nothing there or there's something wrong with the system.
Allegedly, a video of him having sex with a 14-year-old surfaced like a couple weeks ago.
Right. And I mean, there's ways that you can tackle this. I don't think it's just going, well, I think that R. Kelly's guilty no matter what, and he belongs in prison whether they can prove anything or not, because I believe these stories. That doesn't really mean anything. But you can write laws that basically widens the definition of an accomplice, just for an example. And maybe people aren't so willing to be that accomplice, to shuttle women in and out and drugs or what have you, any kind of illegal activity that is enabled by, the people on the payroll around these huge artists.
That's a good thing. That's a good point. Are the people that provided R. Kelly with the 13-year-olds going to be charged? They should.
I mean, as hard as it is to prove that in the first place, to try and implicate the bouncer who will pointed out a chick and sent her backstage as child trafficking? I don't know. I mean, I'm just kind of thinking out loud about this because it is kind of a weird situation. I believe the stories. If I was never one to support R. Kelly as an artist in the first place, but I think if this story was happening to Jeff Tweedy, I think I'd be like, I'm not going to buy any more Wilco albums for a while. No, but do I think that unproven and that these allegations should destroy a man's career, make it difficult for him to go out and do music and tour and do, his job? No. I mean, you either prove it or you're innocent, right? That's our system.
Yeah.
You don't have a king who can just step in and go, yeah, no, you didn't find him guilty, but he sure looks guilty, so off with his head anyway.
Yeah, but I'm going to apply the Cosby principle to this one. After the 20th story where everything matches up,
Right. No, I'm with you. I believe it. But what do you do with that? I mean,
well, we with social media these days, and Twitter and Facebook mobs and stuff, essentially, if you Kevin Spacey, he was accused of attempting to have sex with underage boys, of various forms of sexual assault to varying degrees. Mm-hmm. His career is essentially on hold. Now, some people say his career is over, but if he goes and he's not found guilty, who's to say in 10, 15 years that he won't, be in some Quentin Tarantino movie making the comeback, and people are like, well, he was found not guilty.
Yeah, some guy has an interview where he's like, I'm sorry, I made it all up for money, I wanted attention, blah, blah, blah. Not saying that exists or that will happen, but you get one story like that's believable, and people will be going, oh, maybe we misjudged this guy.
Yeah, so I think it is kind of a weird system of checks and balances, even though I'm not for the craziness that the online mobs can reach.
Right.
But I mean, it's not fair to say you'll never have a career again because of an accusation. But is it fair for possible employers to go, let me see how this court case plays out before I give you another job offer?
Well, I guess there's two things that I'm thinking of. One is that we've applied this attitude to a lot of different things. Like, it's one thing to say, I'm going to boycott Coke because I didn't like this commercial that they had. But then to make it my mission that nobody should be able to enjoy Coke without feeling guilty is a totally different thing. And it's one thing to say, like, I personally don't want to support this artist, but to rally against this person, to contribute to, this, I don't know. Anyway, set that one aside. The Cosby thing, though, is interesting in this aspect because in the question of what is the real punishment, right? The losing your fans and not being able to make money as an entertainer and basically having your career destroyed, or actually being fined and sent to jail. We saw Cosby go through quite an extensive period of losing his fans and being discredited and immediately having dates canceled. And even though he wanted to put out this image that it was business as usual, the writing was on the wall. And now he does actually go to court, get fined, get sentenced, goes to prison, and what do we hear from Cosby? That he's doing all right. That he's getting along with the guys. They got a game every Tuesday night or some shit, right? They have pizza night. Who gives a fuck? They're playing foosball. Because the last couple years of his life, he was just waddling around the fucking house doing nothing anyway, right? How is this any different other than he doesn't have to listen to his wife?
Yeah, and if he gets sex in prison now, it's not the kind he wants.
So what's the real punishment for Cosby? The punishment started when he lost his credibility and he couldn't go out and make money off his comedy anymore.
Well, to a person like Cosby, whose reputation
the prison sentence is just kind of incidental.
To a person like Cosby, whose reputation was based on right or wrongly so, but his reputation was based on wholesome, I work clean, I'm a family man.
And that's a strong point because R. Kelly built a reputation on being a sleazebag, and that's what he's discovered to be, right?
Exactly. I know. He was trying to tell us. We found out
Dr. Dre slapped a hoe. Oh, no.
You listen to someone who slapped D. Barnes? Yeah. I mean, exactly. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest here, right or wrong. When you hear, back in the 90s, when it seemed like every studio gangster was trying to really prove how street they really were by going out and doing dumb shit until they started catching like murder beefs and rape beefs that they were looking at, decades in prison for. Then all of a sudden it was like, whoa, I'm just an artist.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. No, you were talking mad shit about what gang and what set you roll with and all this shit. Don't even try this I'm just an artist shit. So, yeah, I mean, I think Bill Cosby's ego has to figure into it too, because he just, for how many decades, if he said, I'm America's dad, people of all over, America stand up and, yeah, you are, you're not, it's not necessarily you're America's black dad. You're just America's dad. And it doesn't matter that you play a doctor on television and you're still, you have a television show that promotes good, wholesome family values, and you don't get on stage and, you cannot say filth, flarn, filth on stage. Like he, that was his thing. Eddie Murphy made a bit ripping on Bill Cosby, calling him and cursing him out for cursing on stage. So, I mean, yeah, exactly. I think his punishment is much, much different. And going to prison, let's be honest, he's an old man. He has money. He has fame. I'm not saying he's living Goodfellas style in prison, but I'm pretty sure he's not like, living on the main line, having to fucking file a toothbrush down into, a shank to survive.
Yeah. But I think that a prison sentence would be a just sentence if he's actually guilty of this, right? If he is found guilty in court, that would be R. Kelly, like I was saying, he has a reputation already. Even he refers to it in the interview. He says, with my past, I'd have to be crazy to do shit like this? Why would I do shit like that? Which is never really a good defense. But yeah, I think that's really going to be the only thing that gets through to him and maybe to his fans is if he actually gets convicted and has to serve sentence for it. And until then, I'm not going to support him, but I'm not going to judge anybody who does either. I mean, if he's convicted of having sex with a 13-year-old girl at the time and then gets out of jail and goes on tour, has a big coming out of jail party, then I'm going to judge his fans. Like, you're supporting a convicted child molester.
R. Kelly's bogus statutory adventure.
Right.
Yeah. And here's the thing: no matter what,
but there will be February.
There will be people who will support.
Oh man, November. That's Oscar worthy.
Instead of "it's your mom, dude," she's 13, bro. What are you doing? And then Bill Cosby shows up in a phone booth. It's okay. It's all right. It's not that bad in prison. Just give her a drink. Just give her some good old sleeping pills, dog.
You can be on Bill's air hockey team. It'll be fine.
You'll be a Spades partner.
Oh, come on now.
What? It's a game. Yeah. They're not in Michigan. If they were in prison in Michigan, if he goes to jail for the 13-year-old he supposedly fucked in Michigan, he better learn to play euchre. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, where do you think I learned to play spades? Shit. Well, all right. So, yes, because I'm with Chris. I feel the need for a shower. So.
Oh, wait till we talk about Leaving Neverland next week. Oof.
Oh, I don't know if I got it in me, but I'll try to watch it. I've heard some horror stories.
The first one's brutal. The first 2 hours is brutal. Like, I won't be listening to Michael Jackson for a while. Put it that way.
Yeah,
they go into detail.
I'm really not looking forward to this, but I feel like I have to.
I haven't watched it. I've heard enough details. I'm going to watch it this weekend too. But yeah, from the first hour, I've heard a bunch of clips. It is not good.
There's 2 parts to it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So all in all, it's what, like 3 hours?
4 hours.
4 hours. Jesus.
Yeah, this is going to make that Going Clear, that Scientology expose look like romper room, I get the feeling.
Have you ever wondered what makes you, you?
I'm Kemp Powers, co-director and the co-writer of Disney and Pixar's new film Soul, but I am also your host for this exclusive Spotify podcast, Soul Stories. I'm going to be sitting down with the movie's cast, creators, and consultants, discussing the moments that inspired them to follow their passions, the mentors who changed their lives, and the importance of music in their journeys. Join me and the rest of the Soul team only on Spotify.
Discovery Plus is the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Woohoo! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
At Jewelers Mutual, we're a little obsessed with jewelry. Obsessed like auctioneers with talking fast.
50, we're going to
pop stars with auto-tune. And dentists with asking questions.
So, how did he propose?
After they've put their hands in your mouth.
Great.
Yes, we've made jewelry our obsession for over 100 years. We love it so much we named our kids Ruby, Amber, and Opal.
Venti soy latte for Opal?
At Jewelers Mutual, we insure jewelry and only jewelry, which is why people who are also obsessed with jewelry trust us with theirs.
Imagine the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet, all in one place. Go ahead. Dare to stream with Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net.
Unregimented.
Well, let's talk about some white guys going to jail for a change. Although, in all the talk about Manafort's sentencing that happened the day that we're recording this, the reaction for some reason seems to be the list of all the black people who have been sentenced to that time or more for whatever. Because I guess there's a feeling that Manafort got off lightly because he's white.
Because why would we not bring race into everything, right?
Right. But if you didn't hear, he got 47 months. That's kind of a weirdly specific number. I don't know why they just didn't go for 4 years, but okay, 47 months. And everyone's talking about how he got off light. Now, the recommended sentence from the prosecutors was something like 15 to 24 years, something in that neighborhood.
Yeah,
so
this
was well under what was being asked for.
I guess my first question would be, because we've run into this a lot, is we know what the prosecutor asked for. What is the recommended sentence? Or I should say, what is the usual sentence?
Well, that's an interesting question, because I think you have to start with what was he actually being convicted of. In this case, it was tax fraud and bank fraud. So all the money that he was getting from Russia, he was not reporting to U.S. authorities. And that's what they got him on. So 4 years on tax evasion.
Depending on how much.
Snipes got 3.
Yeah, 3. I was about to say.
Right. So, stop comparing this to. I understand. Yeah, there's people that are in jail for longer than that for personal possession of drugs, which I think is ridiculous. It's an abortion of the law that these things happen, but that's not Paul Manafort's fault. Doesn't mean that he should be sentenced more. It sounds like he got a pretty fair sentence for what he's being convicted of. And I think also people should keep in mind that this isn't the only thing. He's got another sentencing coming up that is...
Is it for perjury? For lying?
I can't. I'd have to look it up. I forget, but it was something more directly. It wasn't actually money related.
I know that. I think if it's a federal jury, he could get the maximum. I believe is 3 years for lying to a grand jury or a federal jury.
Yeah, it was something that the charges were. The prosecutors were asking something in the same neighborhood of like 15 plus years on this. I don't think it was. It wasn't perjury. I know that much.
Okay.
But yeah, everyone's talking about this guy like, he got less than 4 years and he's a traitor to his nation and he jeopardized national security. Well, again, that may be, but if it is, nobody's proven that yet.
Well, so that's not what he's convicted for. He was convicted for tax fraud and bank fraud.
Exactly. This isn't the Oscars. Right? You're not giving Spike Lee an Oscar for a film because you should have gave him one for Do the Right Thing. But you have to judge it based on what is the actual crime, not what everyone else thinks he did.
Well, it's real quick. I'm trying to. I don't know off the top of my head because anytime I think of anyone going to jail for income tax evasion, but they really want to get him for something else, I think of Al Capone. Right. And I can't remember how much he got, but I'm pretty sure he got more than 4 years. So, God damn it.
Well, he also had syphilis.
Well, but
I think it was different with Al Capone. I mean, maybe I'm not exact on this, but I thought it was the charges of income tax evasion that basically got their foot in the door and allowed them to obtain a warrant and put together a bigger case that ended up with him being charged with racketeering.
Yeah. Well, I know that the Hollywood version, The Untouchables, is that movie. While it is a good movie, it is an entertaining movie. It is almost completely it's almost completely a work of fiction.
Yeah.
From the agents that worked on it to what they actually busted him for, to the fact that Elliot Ness never met Capone in person, outside of appearing in court when he was on trial. And, they also changed a bunch of stuff to make Elliot Ness look like, an angel and a saint, when Elliot Ness was one of the biggest booze hounds during Prohibition that the FBI employed. Mm-hmm. But, you can't really put that in a movie about going after someone who's a bootlegger. It doesn't work. So Brian De Palma took some very large, liberties with it. Okay, Capone got an 11-year sentence, and he was sentenced to Alcatraz, and that's where he died. So, yeah, I mean, it's not. It might not be right legally, it might not be right in our minds, but I mean, I think there's historical precedent for people getting convicted on other charges instead of the charges that they really wanted him to go to jail for, and getting a larger sentence because we know you're guilty of this, but we got you on this, so we're going to throw the book at you on this.
Well, I think that there's a question, though, of what you mean by a larger sentence. Like, sentencing outside of whether you have federal guidelines for that type of crime, or whether you just have an average range. I mean, that would be one thing. But to say, oh, we can get you, if we get you on tax evasion, we could get you anywhere from, let's say, 2 to 15 years. And they get you on tax evasion, but they're pretty sure that you did a whole lot of other shit. Well, then you might be getting the maximum.
Yeah, and I think that
there's nothing illegal about that. I mean, this is a system we have.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things I heard. Excuse me, brain fart. Manafort's lawyers argue in a story that NPR had on about this before he was sentenced. He said, their main argument was this is his first conviction. He's, they're going by the letter of the law, he's never even been indicted on anything before this. And I mean, Capone was, right. He bought judges and entire city police forces off.
They're like, I know we've reported many, many stories supposing what this guy may have done, but this is the only thing that they've actually convicted him on so far. Yeah. So trying to ignore the nonstop talk about this guy for the last 2 years.
But I mean, yeah, it's
just saying the press is in kind of a weird position when they tell people to hey, calm down a sec.
I know, especially since another podcast, one of the hosts said recently, the press loves to create the news these days instead of just report it. And certain elements of the press, let's put it that way. And it's like, yeah, we all know who he was talking about. Certain people in the press like to stir the pot, but they never want to lick the spoon when it comes time to. So, yeah.
What was the Jake Gyllenhaal film?
Nightcrawler?
Yeah, I was going to say it was named after an X-Men. Yeah, Nightcrawler is a great film. Highly recommend that it is our modern day Network. I recommend everyone should watch Network if you haven't seen it, and you should also watch Nightcrawler. Kind of very different films from the way they tackle the material, but there's a core element in each one of those stories that overlaps.
Oh, definitely. And Network came out, I think, around mid to late 70s.
Yeah.
And it's
like still, 78. Yeah.
It's still relevant.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to the point where I've shown it to people in the last 5 years, and they're like, when the fuck did they make this movie? Mm-hmm. This looks like the 70s. Is this a period piece? I'm like, no. This was made a year after I was born, man. They were calling this shit out back then, before cable news networks, before all the shit we have now.
Yeah.
This is not a new problem. This is just us having, memory loss in the public consciousness. Like, this is a problem we're dealing with and our generation's dealing with. No, It's been a problem for a long time.
These issues have been kicked into overdrive with new forms of media, but
yeah, the
wiring is the same. And that's in our brains, that all media, news media is doing is just triggering, it's just finding the triggers that the public have already. They're not trying to. They're not looking to create new emotions and thoughts. They're just like, people have emotions and thoughts about things, and how can we report on things that will trigger those emotions and thoughts?
Well, they're narrowing it down to a science. Mm-hmm. In fact, I would say some have narrowed it down to a perfect science. If they just go for a certain segment of people, they can just keep those people just stirred up constantly.
Well, one more thing about Manafort, then I don't know if you guys saw any of the footage, or there probably wasn't footage, but the description of Manafort when he came into the courtroom. I know that especially when these people, reach a certain age, they're really encouraged to lay it on thick. All of a sudden, Bill Cosby can't fucking see. And, Manafort comes in. They bring him in the prison jumpsuit, in a wheelchair. He's got a cane. I mean, this man, how long ago was it when we saw him go into the jail? A couple months ago?
Yeah.
And he saunters in he just, was walking out of a Subway. That was a good steak and cheese. I guess I'm here to serve my sentence.
Yeah, it's the Uncle Junior effect.
Yeah.
Boy, the minute it looks like you might be fucked, boy, they start playing up every fucking health thing they can find for you, don't they? Well, he has a heart issue, and he has gout, and eczema, and dandruff. So we can't put him in a level 3 federal prison. Come on now. We got to put him in Club Med. Or, excuse me, Club Fed. Yeah. But that's par for the course, and that's what you get a pay lawyer for. Because they just slather the bullshit on, just like Burger King slathers mayo all over their fucking hamburgers, man. Mm-hmm. You don't ask for a little mayo from Burger King. You don't ask for a little bullshit from a pay lawyer whose job is to get criminals out.
And look, that's not going to change until we decide that we don't want juries in the courtroom anymore, right? Like you said, the lawyers are just playing the game that's there. You're going to put a bunch of quote unquote average people in there and get their opinion on it, then they're going to fucking ham it up.
Yeah, their job is
Geraldo Rivera.
Yeah, trust me, you're going to see a clip from the Finding Neverland of one of the jurors that's going to make you go, why do we pull random idiots off the street and let them be jurors?
Right.
Well, I've said this for years. The first 12 that get out of jury duty just got jury duty. If you're smart enough to get out of it, you're smart enough to sit on a jury. If you're too dumb to get out of jury duty, I don't want you judging shit. Because it is so easy to get out of fucking jury duty. It's not even hard. People are like, oh, I got a jury notice. I'm like, do you need me to tell you how to do this? You're the type person that needs instructions on a shampoo bottle, aren't you?
Get a certified letter that says your hamster has a cold.
Yeah, here's the thing. When the jury survey comes, don't fill it out. That's how you get out of it, because it's them asking you when you're free, all this, all that crap. Don't fill it out. It's not illegal to not fill that out. It's illegal to ignore a summons once you've been called, but it is not illegal to not fill out the survey. Super easy, kids.
Now, the difference is if you get someone who's of the Doug Stanhope mindset, who's like, oh, what's this trial about? Oh, a drug possession trial? Put me on that jury. Because okay, opening statements. Not guilty, Your Honor. Wait, what? No one's even given an opening statement. No victim, no crime. He had drugs in his possession. Did he kill anybody? Did he rape anybody? Did he hurt anybody? No. Not guilty, Your Honor. Those are the type of people that you got to watch out for. I mean, and it's not just people who will take a moral stance like that. There are people who will take stances like that based on other things. Case in point, the Black Power salute that the juror gave fucking O.J. Simpson of all people. And O.J. Simpson's like, why has he got his fist in the air? What does that mean? Because, when they gave the not guilty verdict, remember his first interview after the entire thing? When he said, I'm not black, I'm OJ. So it was it's like, I wonder if that jury who was like all militant and shit going 68 Olympics on him was like, God damn, this Oreo fucking thought that he didn't even know what I was doing? The fuck's wrong with him? I should have thrown his ass in prison.
Well, I guess if this is the only thing that they get Paul Manafort on, then I feel like he's going to wait in his cozy federal prison cell for about less than 2 years when Trump is ready to leave office and goes ahead and pardons Manafort on his way out.
Well, that's tried
and true. Theory.
That's tried and true presidential tradition there.
Yeah. Now, if they get him on something else and he ends up looking at like a decade or more for some more serious charges, there might be something different to it. But I think either way, I imagine that's still the Manafort plan, is that he can wait this one out and get pardoned, because he's not going to get pardoned right away. But if he does end up serving real time, he's still going to get pardoned.
Well, I mean, I know we sit here and we joke about Club Fed and this and that, but I mean, let's be honest. 4 years of your life taken away from you. I mean, if that was any one of us, we'd be pissed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because especially these days, the speed the world moves on and forgets about you. I mean, guys that go overseas and serve a year overseas in the army and come back are like, what the fuck happened to this country in the last year? Like, that's how quick shit moves, and how quick of a clip it moves these days. 4 years, and trust me, you're not getting the fucking input from the outside world in prison like you're used to getting when you're a free man. You don't necessarily hear about all the good shit. I mean, he's got money, so of course he's going to get it. He's going to get his clear TV and his clear radio and all that shit. But your average person going to prison? No, not unless you got family that really care about you.
Well, do you hear about what's his name, Martin Shkreli? Yeah. The guy who bought the pharmaceutical company and then
Farmer
jacked
Bro.
up Yeah. He also bought the Wu-Tang
album. It's sad that I think of that before I think of the pharmaceutical shit.
There was a story about him and his experience in jail, and he's got a cell phone, a contraband cell phone that he uses to currently run his business from his cell.
It's that white people jail. Well, I should say it's that rich white people jail.
That's the type of shit that used to be for fucking gangsters. And I'm not talking your low-level knockaround guys. I'm talking your capos and your lieutenants and shit and your dons that went to prison. Now just money buys you that. It doesn't matter where the fuck it came from. Like, if you got money, we are so, I mean, I don't want to harp on this subject, but it's just, it's amusing and saddening to me at the same time. We are so unequal in lifestyle that even in prison money can buy you a better life. Where everybody's supposed to be equally worthless when you're in prison. But no, if you got money, there's always, a handful of guards that'll, here you go. Here's your KFC. You ain't got to eat that nasty prison food. Here's your cell phone. By the way, you might want to wipe it off first because you know how we snuck it in. All that good shit. So, well, at least it's not the gulag of the Stalin era Russia, right?
Hey, I want to know, what carrier does he have? Because this is a prison full of cement walls and steel ceilings. How's he getting reception?
He's got that 5G shit.
He can do a fucking commercial from the cell.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
From my Verizon wireless cell that I smuggled inside my own butthole.
Remember when Trump did the emergency?
When it was up my ass, I was still getting a signal.
Remember when Trump did the emergency whatever thing and people were like flipping out because their phone got a uninvited message from Trump and shit?
I feel violated.
Oh, the presidential emergency?
Yes. One of the things that so many people...
that was worse than the unwanted U2 album.
Yeah. One of the things that a lot of my friends who have actually done time said is, who was the most pissed about that? Not liberals, not Trump haters. People in prison who are like, shut this fucking thing up before the guard's here. Yeah. Like, God damn it, you know how much I had to pay to get this motherfucker in here? God damn it, take the battery out. Because I'm sure there was plenty of cell blocks. And it was just like, are we going to ignore that and act like that didn't happen, fellow guards? Or do we actually go bust some heads and start tossing cells? What are we doing here? So, yeah, good times.
What else? Anybody else go to prison? What else is going on?
I mean, free my boy Pookie, but that's an old story. So yeah, I don't know. No, I don't know. I haven't really heard anything. I've been kind of unplugged from the political stuff until this Manafort shit hit. So
Discovery Plus is the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Woohoo! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
Curated by Kohl's latest collection is now available in select stores and at Kohl's.com. For a limited time, shop unexpected new favorites like reusable drinkware from Corksicle and fun arts and crafts from UV. Warmy's heatable plush toys are perfect for little ones. Homesick handcrafted candles are a great gift to make anyone feel at home. And who doesn't love sweet treats from Candy Club? Shop curated by Kohl's for these digital need-to-know brands and more. Tap the banner now or visit Kohls.com.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net. Unregimented.
Something we didn't touch on pre-show, but I think it was interesting is, and I was just reading up on this today, is the new Green Deal and the holes that are being poked in it by the Republicans and what led to that. And it seems like the way the article stated it was, you can tell it's starting to unravel when the other side of the political, the other political party starts to use your idea as a weapon against you. And I guess one of the things that happened was there was a few logistical accounting errors, something like that. Someone misspoke talking about it, and Republicans have jumped on it now. And I guess one of the big things is, how are we going to, so we have to retrofit every building in the entire country to fit to this new Green Deal? Where's that money going to come from? And, what money have you had set aside? And eventually, some representative who's a Dem basically just said, she got cornered in an interview and she said, I don't know. I don't know where the funding's going to come from. And so it's kind of like, the Republicans are doing the dance of, see, we killed it. And it's like,
well, here's the thing.
Did you really kill it, or are you just shitting on it before it even gets a chance to?
Republicans never have to prove that they can pay for anything. And as a matter of fact, there's a whole organization built into the government that its job is to determine how much will these policies, you want to change the tax law, here's the expected result of it. What are they? I want to say the CBO or something like that. And they come out with these reports and they're like, you're going to raise taxes this much, it's going to have this type of effect on the economy, and it's not what they expected to hear, and they completely disregard it. They don't have a leg to stand on when arguing how you're going to pay for something.
Oh, no, absolutely.
This Green New Deal thing is an evolving bunch of ideas that has been bouncing around for a while now and is getting attention because it's being promoted by somebody who's actually currently getting attention. And I don't expect it to be perfect. Well, but I expect my government to take some sort of action on this issue. And at the very least, maybe we can, if you want to propose your own legislation to tackle this issue, let's hear it. If you want to stand up with a chart that shows people that if the Green New Deal passes, the government will come take your car away and you'll never eat beef again for the rest of your life. That's not a discussion. If you honestly think that those things could happen, then let's get in there and figure this out. Let's both sides participate in this legislation and see how we can make change without disrupting our economy or, because that's the only way. Unless you just want to argue that climate change is either not real or there's just nothing that we can do about it anyway, then the only way that anything is going to be done about it is on a governmental level. It's not recycling. It's not personal choice of where to shop or what to eat or any of that stuff. These things can make a difference when a lot of people choose them, but the only way it's really going to make a difference is on a governmental level. And all these things that that are leading to more carbon in the environment, like beef and dairy industry, most of the food industry, transportation. These are all things that are subsidized by the government currently. Gas is heavily subsidized by the government. So it's actually very easy to make these kinds of shifts on a governmental level. You stop subsidizing gas and you start subsidizing solar. And you would be surprised how quickly we can change.
Well, I think I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I'm done.
I was just going to say, I think one of the things that that stuck out to me, and I'm paraphrasing in this article, was something that one of the political commentators said. And to be honest with you, I don't know this person. I can't remember their name. I don't know their political affiliation, which way they lean. But what they said it made sense to me. They said, first of all, this is more of an attempt to lay a universal groundwork for something to unite the Democrats. Okay? We don't have to agree on every single thing in here, but there should be some core values we all agree on here for all the party that we say we are.
Because it's not just about the environment either.
No, it's not. And Republicans are taking it as this is, the notorious AOC came down from the mountain carrying the stone tablets and said, this is how it has to be now. And there's no change. This is the word of our new God, of our understanding. And if you dare change this, it's heresy, and it's, you need to be put to death. And it's not what it is. Yeah. It is an attempt to unite a party that is, to be brutally honest, is very splintered at the moment, because you have the very hardline people. The first time it was brought up on this podcast, if I remember correctly, was an episode you missed, Aaron, and Chris and I brought it up because there was an article that someone tweeted out, and they tweeted that if any presidential candidate doesn't agree with every single thing on this platform of this Green New Deal, then you don't vote for them.
Yeah, they called them. Yeah, they said if you don't support, and then they went through their little list. They said, then you are a corporate Democrat, and I will not vote for you. And the Green New Deal is on this list.
And it was like, okay, you don't have, for whatever reason, you don't have that with, at least to that extent, with Republicans. I mean, where are the extremists on the right that are like that? They're usually the wackos who are like, even David Duke threw in his support behind fucking Trump. And let's be honest, Trump ain't out here like advocating openly for, lynchings and going back to Jim Crow. He might actually feel that way. I don't know the man personally, but he's not dumb enough to advocate it for it in public. So that David Duke doesn't agree with everything fucking Trump says. The man used to be the Grand Wizard of the KKK, all right? But for whatever reason, the Republicans are like, hey, you're just enough in my camp to where I'll throw my support behind you.
Don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Yes.
Don't let the constant quest for that candidate that's going to represent you in all ways perfectly, that you just can't wait to vote for, keep you from participating in a process where progress is sometimes made in inches.
Unfortunately, Aaron, I think that ship has sailed. At least on the left. This, again, what Rich said, this is a party that has started cannibalizing itself.
More so than the Republicans?
Yeah, I mean, when Bernie said he was going to run again, what were all the... it was what Bernie and Beto. I forget which supporters were knocking the other ones, but it was...
Well, you don't even have to go that recent. You can just go back to 2016. It was... People that supported Hillary tried to position anyone who supported Bernie as, you're a misogynist who hates her because she's a successful, powerful woman.
I think the only difference here is how much attention is being paid to these races earlier and earlier on. It always comes together, right? I mean, certainly there was a lot of people that in the end weren't convinced by Hillary and didn't vote for her, and would have voted for Bernie and felt like he was robbed. And that's probably why she didn't win the election. So it can make a real difference, but too splintered to come up with a cohesive plan enough to run a viable candidate against Trump, I don't think that's going to happen.
Look how many candidates are already in the field. There's already
it's way too early to make that kind of judgment, first of all. And this early in the process, it's always like this. Everyone's got their individual issues and their candidates they feel represented strongest. And the more attention that we pay to it, the more the media has to go out there and come up with the story. Well, who's stronger on this issue or that issue? If you're for marijuana or if you're for states' rights, who's your better candidate? And we're still way too out for any of this to make a difference, a real difference to the race. Only, I guess, arguably, you could say maybe it does, because they are getting that press attention, and that free advertisement, it certainly is what made a huge difference for Trump. The press coverage is, you could argue, in the same way that Bernie may have cost Hillary the election, the press may have won Trump the election. But no, I mean, everyone's got their pet issues. Everyone thinks that they're going to have their perfect candidate that's going to come to the surface. But I'm telling you, it's way too early to make judgments on that, because this is just part of the process. It's all going to come together. Everyone's going to get behind the lead candidate because
they'll be told to.
Because there's going to be enough people on the left that don't want to see what happened to Hillary happen with whoever may have a chance of beating Trump this time.
Oh, there's that optimist again.
Well, no, you know what? This
isn't optimism talking. I'm telling you history. This is historically how races go, and the only reason it seems so fragmented at this point is because we're paying attention to it way too fucking early. The cake isn't even, we're looking at flour on in the kitchen and going, when's this cake going to be ready? Like, I don't want to eat this.
We haven't even got
this. This doesn't look like anything.
We haven't even bought the cake mix, and we're arguing about what flavor cake we want.
Right. We're still arguing about who's going to drive to the fucking store. So quit talking about cake already.
No, I absolutely look. I agree with you, and it does feel like, is it Congress people who every 2 years have to be elected?
Yes.
So they're constantly campaigning, and it feels like now, especially with, and I can't speak to before I was born, before I was politically aware. Like, I remember, like, late 91, early 92, starting to hear the people who Clinton would have to basically best to get the Democratic nomination. It's
18 months out.
Yes!
A whole troop of people have announced.
20 people declared before fucking Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
That they were running. I mean, I don't ever remember it being like that. So it's almost like, especially when you got someone like Trump who loves campaigning. Because that's essentially what he does. Yes, exactly. It's essentially all he does. And that's the one thing I will give him. He does that well. He gets out there and he is like a fucking vampire that feeds on the crowds and the reaction to just the nonsense that he spews. Like, Nixon was a power vampire. Clinton was a pussy vampire. You know what I'm saying? Like, it seems like every president has that one thing that they feed on that keeps him, putting one foot in front of the other. When it comes to campaigning, Trump is tireless. He will.
Reagan had jelly beans. They would just lead him with a path to jelly beans everywhere they wanted him to go.
Carter had peanuts.
Liver pills. but no, yeah. And so, I mean, I absolutely agree with you, Aaron. I honestly do. And I think a lot of these more fringe, almost, for lack of a better way to put it, like boutique candidates will fall by the wayside quicker. And I think that what's going to have to happen is that we're going to have to realize that, like my brother, the way he looks at political candidates, I've yet to hear him say one politician who has a D by their name who he thinks is truly on the left. As far as he's concerned, they're all center right. And I'm like, so who do you vote for? You tell me you live in a state, Florida, that has basically been taken under siege by Republicans and held hostage. I mean, from governorship on down to local elections, and yet no one that the other party runs is good enough for you. And you never give me a third party candidate or an independent candidate, even on a smaller level that you'd be willing to vote for.
But this is going to be a much different election than 2016. 2016 was vote for the person who can beat Trump, only nobody thought that would ever happen. So that's how they voted. And now it's a sure thing. It's like, if I don't vote for this other person, then I might as well be voting for Trump. So it's going to be a much different election. And whoever the candidate ends up being, they're going to get enough support unless they end up just being a complete disaster. And a complete disaster up against Trump, I don't know what that looks like.
No, right?
I mean, like, unless they get in a car accident and receive a major trauma to their frontal brain and lose their speech, their ability for speech, and still we decide to keep them in the race.
Well, here's the thing. Oh, Jesus. And I don't understand why this would matter with Trump in the White House, but you know it will. If the Democrats go and they get a Gary Hart, John Edwards type person, that enough dirt can be dug up about their personal life, the Republicans will party on that dirt like they just won World War II.
Yeah, but those are old school scandals. That was like when eating a hoagie sandwich wrong could ruin your career as a politician. That is one thing that we are beyond.
I hope so. I really do hope so, because I understand what you're saying, and I feel that, and I really hope it's true. I for whatever reason, I get the feeling that, especially among Trump's base, he gets a pass on something that no one else would.
Because this is another thing that Trump gave us, right? His election showed us that not only are the Republicans playing a different game, but they are clearly winning at it. Even when they openly show their hand, all their cards are on the table and they still manage to take the pot.
You know why Trump gets a pass?
So I think that people are realizing on the left that we are going to have to play this game.
Yeah, I can. So you know why Trump doesn't get a pass, or does get a pass? Because his party doesn't call half of the country idiots. That's why his base chooses to look the other way.
No, they just call them baby killers.
Which is ironic, considering that the Republicans were the party who was shouting down people calling Vietnam vets baby killers. But
no, but it's a fair point though, Chris. Because who are you going to believe? Who are you going to listen to? The politician that says you're stupid, or the politician that says that you're the salt of the earth?
I mean, duh. We all have an ego. We all know the answer to this question.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that was one of Carter's major flaws, was giving a presidential speech on national television and saying, yeah, guess what? We're in a bad way right now. And we're all going to have to throw in and do our part to dig ourselves out of this hole. And then here come Reagan, and he was just like, nah, America, apple pie, baseball, jelly beans.
Well, I like to think that I vote with my brain and not with my heart, and then I vote on issues and not how I feel about the candidate and whether I'd like to have a beer or a burger with them or some nonsense. But if a politician, if there was a Democrat that I was planning on voting for and they got up on TV and they're like, if you're a 40-year-old man who still plays video games and reads comic books and I don't want you voting for me, I'd be like, I feel put on blast right now. Like, I don't know if I can vote for that.
And I mean, let's be honest. If
I'm being called out,
I feel personally attacked by this relatable content. But no, I mean, and that whole, want to have a beer with. If I'm going to party with any president in my lifetime, it's going to be Trump and Clinton at the same time. Because Trump brings the porn stars, the people willing to piss on each other. Bill's just bringing hoes straight up. Like, I mean, from hard threes to dime pieces, he don't care. He fucks them all. It's going to be like Caligula partying with those two. But I don't want them not necessarily them running the country. You know what I'm saying?
You want W bringing the Coke?
He's all Jesus freaked out. If he relapses, come on, W. We got room in the party bus. Come on. Come take this first shot of Jack in about 25 years. Come on, take it. Yeah, we'll have him dancing naked in 20 minutes. He's such a lightweight anymore. But that's such a, I agree with you. It's such a nonsense thing. Oh, well, who would you like to hang out? Who's more relatable? I can relate to a lot of people. It doesn't mean I think they should be fucking politicians or leaders of anybody.
I don't think either of you should be president, and I'm sure the feeling's mutual.
I don't want to be president.
Right.
I don't even.
And maybe 2016 broke that cycle of behavior. I mean, I don't think that anyone voted for either Hillary or Trump because they wanted to have a beer with them, or Bernie. Like, nobody thought that those people would be fun to hang out with.
You got to have Manischewitz with Bernie. Can't do the wine. But no, yeah, I mean, and that's how stupid we are when we're like, well, what are we going to base who would you like to hang out with?
I think the bigger fear with the bigger fear on the left of them not being able to run a good enough race to beat Trump is not from the fragmented nature that it seems to be in now, not from too many small issues ruining the bigger picture of who's really going to run this country. Are they going to stop letting the Republicans lead the conversation on all these issues? I mean, this whole anti-Semitism issue with what's her name, Omar, right? She comes out criticizing Israel, the nation, and is accused of being anti-Semitic. Well, yeah, the nation of Israel is run by Jews, right? That's where they live. That doesn't mean that you're criticizing all Jews.
But what's fucked up, it's coming from her own party. Is what's fucked up.
Yes, the Republicans started it, and the Democrats started going, anti-Semitic. Yeah, it does kind of sound anti-Semitic, Well, hey, it sounded anti-Semitic come out of Bill Maher's mouth, so I guess she's anti-Semitic as well.
Now you got Pelosi making statements about it. Like, I'm just sitting there reading it, shaking my head. Like, get your shit together. Back each other up.
Yeah, Bernie had a statement saying that there's a clear line between criticizing the government and criticizing the people. You can criticize this isn't his example, but we can criticize Mexico or Venezuela for their choices, and it doesn't mean all Venezuelans are idiots. It means their country's fucked up. Their government isn't working.
Yeah, because I read what she said, and I'm sitting here like, where's the anti-Semitism?
Yeah.
In every article I said it had anti-Semitic overtones, and I'm thinking, where?
And every time somebody says anything vaguely anti-Semitic that might be construed, might be taken out of context. Basically, any time somebody references the Jews, it doesn't say they're the best people on the fucking earth. Then the Republicans get to trot out anti-Semitism, and half the Democrats follow them along on this. And don't call bullshit on it because they're too fucking afraid. And that's the type of shit that's going to cause them to not be able to truly come together and get a viable candidate together. That's what I'm more afraid of. It's not all the little issues and infighting, because that's part of how government works. You have at a certain point, these things bubble to the surface, or they don't, but they never will get a chance to if the dance is constantly being led by the right.
And man, that resolution, 407 to 23 in the House. So,
what was the resolution that you're referring to?
Approved a resolution condemning anti-Semitism and other forms of bigotry.
Right.
Oh,
meaningless bullshit. Yeah. Nothing.
Are you all proud of yourselves?
Right. Oh, God damn it.
Even Congress virtue signals now. Great job, everybody.
Have you ever wondered what makes you, you?
I'm Kemp Powers, co-director and the co-writer of Disney and Pixar's new film Soul, but I am also your host for this exclusive Spotify podcast, Soul Stories. I'm going to be sitting down with the movie's cast, creators, and consultants, discussing the moments that inspired them to follow their passions, the mentors who changed their lives, and the importance of music in their journeys. Join me and the rest of the Soul team only on Spotify.
Of all the streaming services out there, only one is different. Discovery Plus. It's the greatest collection of real-life entertainment on the planet. 55,000 episodes of food, love, true crime, home, from networks like TLC, HGTV, and tons more. Yes! With stars like Chip and Jo, an exclusive new series from 90 Day Fiancé, all in one place. Bam! Discovery Plus. Stream now. Stream what you love.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net. ChristopherMedia.net. Unregimented.
Well, let's talk about some more fun stuff that's going on then. It's not too much about prison and politics and
little kid creepiness. Yeah.
Yeah. No, so there's some Marvel's got another big movie coming out this weekend, and
I didn't even know this was coming out till like yesterday.
There's a lot of talk about who the fuck is Captain Marvel, right?
Yeah, from one of your hosts over here, I never heard of Captain Marvel like a year ago.
And I think older generations would know Captain Marvel, but not this Captain Marvel. Not even this Captain Marvel from Marvel Comics, which you would think would be the home of Captain Marvel. But that's actually why the Shazam movie that's coming out is not called Captain Marvel, even though that character much more resembles the old Captain Marvel, the old Captain Marvel TV show, which was, I think, before our time. But there was I remember seeing a cartoon. I believe there was a live action TV show as well of Captain Marvel.
The DC one.
The DC version of Captain Marvel that is called Shazam.
Yeah, my dad, it was a black and white show. My dad had a shitty-ass VHS bootleg he picked up at some truck stop. And it was like reliving. I think it was like a serialized thing that they would show before movies. That might be different than what you're talking about. But I mean, it was... No,
I think that's the same thing. They had early Superman shorts like that.
Yeah. Before
they did these 5 or 6 part stories where you would have... It was a way to get you back into the theater. It was kind of ingenious because not only were you coming for the movie, but if you wanted to see all 5 parts of the Superman serial or The Phantom Creeps with Bela Lugosi, then you had to come back to the theater each week.
Yeah. So yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, my thing is, it's just I understand they're from what I've read, Marvel is trying to set her up as almost the Captain America of this next phase of the MCU. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, that's cool, whatever. But I mean, that's kind of a big gamble with a character who even hardcore comic fans are like, which version? Because you've rebooted her and retconned her so much. What version are we getting here?
This is most definitively the 2012 Kelly Sue DeConnick version. So it is fairly recent, although Captain Marvel has always had, there's not only different versions of the female version of Captain Marvel, but there's also a male Captain Marvel as well.
Which is the one Joe Rogan remembered from his childhood.
Version. The male version in the Marvel universe of Captain Marvel, which you might remember, if you haven't read it, I'm sure you would have seen. It was one of the first of the graphic novels that Marvel started doing in the 80s. One of them was the New Mutants special. Another was came later was the Death of Captain Marvel. And it actually has death on the cover with Captain Marvel. He's in this red and blue sparkly suit.
Yeah, he's blonde.
Yep. Yeah. And like the whole cast of characters standing behind him, like they're at the funeral or some shit. So that's the other Captain Marvel, which I believe that character, whether he's ever going to be referred to as Captain Marvel or not, is the Jude Law character in the movie. But yeah, I don't even know the whole lineage. I'm familiar with all the different versions. And this idea that they're taking some sort of gamble on, I mean, it's worked out really well in the comics. And that is the blueprint for all the stuff that they're doing. The most recent, not really a reboot, because they did kind of retool Carol Danvers' character story somewhat. But it was still the same Carol Danvers. But that 2012 reboot of that character was really, really successful. And she has since gone on to play a leadership role. Basically, anything that happens in outer space is under Carol Danvers' purview. Remember Alpha Flight?
Oh, yeah.
The Canadian superhero team of mutants.
John Byrne created them.
Alpha Flight still exists, but Alpha Flight is basically outer space patrol. What was once done by SWORD under Abigail Brand, but you didn't read any of that stuff because that was that was after 2000. Yeah. That was actually a character written by Joss Whedon, and she was dating Beast for a while, but I digress. Carol Danvers has been leading up Alpha Flight, which is just basically, protecting the planet from interstellar invaders and whatnot. So I don't know. They're going to have somebody. I don't know that they can just reboot Captain America right away, right? At some point, Chris Evans is not going to he's not going to be Captain America anymore. And they will have to get somebody, and I hope it's Bucky. I hope it's, what's his name, with the metal arm.
Oh, Winter Soldier?
Yeah. That was what happened in the Death of Captain America by, Ed Brubaker, who also wrote the story that Winter Soldier was based off of. But I think even once they make that or start to make that transition, I think there still has to be a period where that character remains dead for a while and nobody, because it's kind of like your dog dies, like you don't bring home a puppy the next day. You give it a week at least. or whatever you feel is the appropriate amount of time to say, okay, it's time to move on. And this is what Marvel continually does in the comics. They kill off a character, and then at a certain point, that character is going to come back. But sometimes that's years down the line. That if you're going to kill off a character and have it mean something, you can't just reincarnate them the next month. So when Captain America goes away, somebody's going to have to fill that void. It's going to have to be another character that does that. And it's, who else is it going to be of the current lineup? Can't be Iron Man. How much more longevity are they going to get out of what's his name?
I mean, and let's be honest, the relapse is impending with him. It's been a good decade plus. He could fall off the wagon soon.
I don't know. I feel like he's solid, but I don't know.
I think the most natural transition would be if they don't necessarily kill off Tony Stark, but they put him in a position in the MCU to where he can't physically be Iron Man anymore, and then Rhodey steps in as Iron Man.
Yeah.
And just abandons the mantle of War Machine.
And he can retire or whatever.
Yeah, and then he could almost play like the behind the scenes, oh hey, he made a cameo in this movie, like almost a Nick Fury type character, to where he doesn't necessarily have to have the whole movie be about him. And he even might, Downey might even agree to do that. I think it'd be cool, just personally, but this is just me being comic book nerdish, is if they brought back U.S. Agent, had Bucky become U.S. Agent, and had Anthony Mackie become Captain America, and then have them set up like to where they have a conflict and they butt heads, and then take it from wherever you want to take it from there.
Falcon could take over Captain America too, but I still believe that either way you do that, you're going to have to leave a void at some point, and who's going to fill that void? And to say that it's out of left field or that Marvel's trying to shoehorn gender into the films by giving her this important role out of nowhere is coming out of the mouths of somebody who hasn't read comics in the last decade. It's just ignorance. It's not based in fact at all. It's fine. You read a certain era of comics and that's all you know about it, and that's all you want to believe that comics are. But in the meantime, the rest of comics has moved on. And it seems very natural that it seems actually like they should have done this a long time ago. And
although don't fret, the other side has their I sent you guys an article. I just Googled Captain Marvel, and like the second article that came up, the Washington Post says if you're hesitating to go see this, you're a bad feminist. So we got that to look forward to as well.
Well, here's the thing.
Okay, you can't judge the movie by people's bad takes.
Do I get to hear stories of women crying in movie theaters again for the next 2 weeks? Because apparently a woman's never had a lead role in any film ever.
Well, I mean, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I've never really been impressed by Brie Larson's acting ability. Granted, outside of a few things I've seen her do here and there, the movie that I know her best from is 21 Jump Street, a comedy. So her comedic timing should probably have almost nothing to do with her playing, this character. Because unless they're going to try to set her character up like Star-Lord, to where she's just, funny and charismatic. But from what I've seen of the trailers, I don't see that happening. She looks very stoic, very,
Carol Danvers is no nonsense woman.
Yeah, stone-jawed military pilot. You know what I'm saying? Like, no bullshit. So, I don't know. I'm reserving judgment for her performance, but the only comments I've really heard about, and I mean, here's the thing. It's really tiresome to think that, everybody who does not have interest to see this movie must not have interest in seeing it because of it's a woman in the lead role. Stop with this. Okay? Fucking Princess Leia, Ripley, these characters have been around for over 40 fucking years. Okay? 25 years ago, we had Xena. We had Buffy. All right? Stop trying to paint with such a broad brush all the fandom of sci-fi fantasy. Like, they're just like these neckbeards who are like, no women ever, because it's not factual. Yeah. It's not fucking factual.
But it is represented. I mean, it doesn't represent all of that culture, but there is a very loud minority of people who are actively against this movie for sexist reasons. I mean, to the point where the Rotten Tomatoes had to change its algorithm for how it calculates the demand to see a movie that isn't out yet, right? I didn't even know they had a meter that rated such a thing, but you can rate your enthusiasm on how much you may want to see a yet-to-be-released film on their website. And so many people rated that negatively that they're like, this doesn't make any sense other than, a group effort to, like, quote unquote, smear this movie in some way is unworthy, even having not watched it, because it's still a Marvel movie, right? There's nothing, everyone's going to see this, and especially the way that they're tying it into the greater story that they're currently telling with Avengers.
Look, the only thing I've heard, and I'm taking this with a large chunk of salt, is I've heard one story told in two separate narratives. And the story is, if you listen to one group of people, that Brie Larson said while she was doing press for this movie, that there should be more diversity among the people she talks to while doing press for it. And if you listen to another group of people, she said she doesn't want white males reviewing her movie. Right. Now, if she said the first one, fine. Welcome to 2019. You are placing yourself firmly in the cradle with your mouth to the breast of the people who want to hear that shit. Okay? You are absolutely safe in saying that. If she said the second thing, if I'm working for Marvel, I would call her into my office if I was the one who was running the fucking Marvel universe and say, you can be replaced. Edward Norton is no longer the Hulk.
She did not say that.
Okay. But do you understand? Because that is, stop trying to fucking torpedo this fucking movie with your bullshit, or else we will replace you. Trust me, there's plenty of tall blondes in Hollywood. You ain't the only one. All right? But if she didn't say it, fine. Then these are people fucking putting words in her mouth, and I'm not even shocked anymore. Because of... one narrative's coming from one side who you expect to hear that from. I want more diversity. Okay, fine, whatever. And then the other side is, well, she said she didn't want white males reviewing her movie or seeing her movie. It's like, okay, did she really say that? Because I think Marvel would have a problem with that. I think they'd have to do some damage control if there was actual video of those words coming out of her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot believe they would just shine that shit out and try to sweep it under the rug. I mean, just a rumor of
a solid rumor I would have read on Bleeding Cool.
No, I'm talking about this goes back farther. The chick from the Fugees, when she put out her solo album, Lauryn Hill. Thank you. There was like a rumor in the rap world that said, I don't want white people to buy my album, to the point where Eminem goofed on her and said, bought Lauryn Hill's album so her kids can starve. You know what I'm saying? Like fucking goofing on how stupid of a fucking rumor it was and shit. And I mean, like, let's be honest though, that rumor got around. And I'm like, where did she say this shit? Is there video of it? Is there audio proof of it? No. Then why the fuck are we listening to this shit? These are people with an axe to grind because they don't agree with her politics or they don't agree with her worldview or whatever the fuck. Okay, and I'm so fucking sick of basing what I enjoy in fucking entertainment on what a person might fucking believe behind closed doors. It doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, if you're going around saying fuck little children and you know, kill old people, it's probably not a good look. But let's be honest, how many people are coming out saying that shit? I mean, it's just actually, not realistic.
She did actually say that to Mary Claire magazine. She said,
what,
about
she
a year,
thinks they should be more diverse?
No, that there should be less white men covering her Captain Marvel press tour.
Oh, okay. That's not saying I don't want them to review my movie or not see my movie.
Right. If you want more women to interview you on your press junket, then kind of by default, you will have less men, right?
Well, I can read you the quote.
Yeah.
And she said, about a year ago, I started paying attention to what my press days looked like in the critics reviewing movies and noticed it appeared to be overwhelmingly white male. So I spoke to Dr. Stacy Smith at the USC Annenberg Inclusion Initiative, who put together a study to confirm that. Moving forward, I decided to make sure my press days are more inclusive. After speaking with you, the film critic Valerie Complex, that's a fake name, and a few other women of color, it sounded like across the board they weren't getting the same opportunities as others. When I talked to the facilities that weren't providing it, they all had different excuses.
Okay, well, she's obviously looking at it from a point of view of there's no legit reason, there's only excuses. Okay, is it the most eloquently worded way to say it? No. Do I understand what she's saying, the sentiment behind it? Yes. Why? Because I listened to enough movie podcasts that where they talk to reviewers of all colors, all ethnic backgrounds, all nationalities, and one of the questions they say almost to a podcast when there is a person who's not a white male in there is they say, why are there not more reviewers that reflect you? And what they almost all say to a person is, because they're just not. There's not that many non-binary, gender fluid, Hispanic female reviewers out there. Get into the field. That's how we get more in there.
Wait, but Chris, you have this in front of you. Can I get a clarification on this? What you read to us just now was a quote from her. It was out of Brie Larson's mouth, right?
Yes, from Mary Claire magazine.
I would like less white men reviewing my movie or interviewing me for this. Was that part of that quote, or was that inferred from that quote? Did those words come out of her mouth? I would like less white men.
Second part of the quote says, I don't need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him. I want to know what it meant to women of color, biracial women, to teen women of color, to teens that are biracial.
Congratulations. And that's why that movie did shit at the box office.
That movie was horrid. That was boring as fuck. It was pretty, but boring as fuck.
I mean, look, here's the deal. I get having strong opinions.
My daughter loved it, and I wasn't going to shit on it. I kept my mouth shut during the whole movie.
Like, I understand having strong opinions and shit, but I mean, let's be honest here. Some people need to learn you don't shit on your fan base. Okay. You don't shit on people who are more than willing to support you out the gate.
But how is it shitting on a fan base? She's talking about journalists and reviewers.
Okay. I don't know. I honestly, look, if that was said by anybody else about anybody besides white males, that would have been, oh shit moment, DEFCON 4 at fucking Disney and Marvel. That would have been, we don't give a fuck if you are Chris Evans, if you are Captain America, you are no longer in a Marvel movie. Period.
Right, but it was said about white males and it's also true.
Once again, is she saying we need more reviewers get into the industry? Do we need more? We need more diverse reviewers.
She's saying exactly what the
way. That's to me. That's the most politic way to say that. To sit and attack the people who are in the industry. Okay, I'm not saying that she's fucking tanking the movie, trying to tank the movie on purpose, or she's trying to fuck her career up or nothing. I'm not. There's no conspiracy theory being put out by me here. I'm just saying, you ain't the most eloquent person when it comes to expressing your ideas. I can understand. I can whether you agree
from the
with
quote that Chris read. That was quite eloquent. It was a well researched plan of attack.
Okay, so here's
this didn't fly out of her mouth because the guy that interviewed her before.
But
right?
Aaron, look. I guess my question though with this is with what she meant is if it was all 40-year-old white women, would you have said this? Because that's the thing. It's are you attacking white people or males? Because I really think that's what she's getting
why does it have to be attack males? What she's saying is
because she said 40-year-old white male. She singled out.
Yes, she said white male. She didn't say this is an attack on white males. What she's saying is other people aren't getting a voice, and that's an issue for her.
I just wonder if she'd have the same opinion if it's 40-year-old white females.
I don't know, but are 40-year-old white females dominating that industry?
No.
Well, then it's kind of a moot point, isn't it? It's not a one-to-one comparison.
All right.
Well, I mean, here's the bottom line.
It comes across as singling out.
It is a Marvel movie.
It's not singling out. It's fact. Are you denying that they're dominating the industry?
No, but saying something, I don't need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what he thought of my movie. Well, then don't be an actress, because that's who's movie critics.
Well, I mean, okay, so hold on.
What if she just said, I don't like critics? I think
I would still say don't be an actress because you're going to run into critics.
First, she can just ignore it. She doesn't mean don't be an actress.
Okay, first of all, everybody's a fucking critic these days with an internet connection,
right?
And a way to post on some form of social media. Everybody's a critic. All right, so once again, I don't really give a fuck what a lot of people have to say, and I don't really trust a lot of movie critics because I'm old enough to know that I've been told that, oh, these are great movies, and I go to see them and I'm asleep 15 minutes into them because they're boring as bullshit. I don't care that, they use the actual same lighting that they did back in the day, so everything's lit with candles, and okay, cool. Kubrick would go that obsessive to get something period correct. But he also would put a good movie in around that situation. It wouldn't be like, that's the reason to go see this movie. Movie critics are so full of shitting up their own ass. They're like music critics. And to me, this just comes off as you're above this. Seriously. It's like anytime I don't care, male, female, anytime I hear a musician go on the attack. When Kevin Smith did it, when he started attacking critics about, well, you don't give my movies a fair shake.
I feel like it's really extreme to call what she's saying and trying to put in action an attack.
Okay, then here's my reaction to that. Why did no one argue with Kevin Smith basically saying the same thing about, I don't give a shit about what critics say about my movie, except for he left out their gender and their fucking race. I don't make movies for you. He said that. I make them for my audience. And people were like, Kevin Smith goes on rampage against critics. And no one batted an eye at that wording. Now all of a sudden we're going to parse language and split hairs because, someone might have put attacks her critics. Okay, fine. It's hyperbolic. I get that. Okay? But it's still, who gives a fuck? Half these people can't frame a fucking shot. Don't know one lens from another. Half these people are failed fucking people who wanted to be in the movie industry. What is the old saying? Those who can't teach and those who can't teach criticize. I mean, this isn't even like an acting coach telling her you sucked in this movie, whose opinion might carry some weight. This is an asshole who I watch a bunch of movies, so I'm an expert on it now. The fuck out of here. You ain't an expert on shit. You're just giving your opinion.
Right. I think that using Kevin Smith's statement as an example is kind of perfectly frames this, because nobody really did give a shit when Kevin Smith said it. What is the difference? I think the major difference is that a woman is saying this, and that this woman is promoting a movie that some people feel is an agenda-driven film.
We can also say Kevin Smith didn't bring gender or race into it either.
But and let's be honest, if he would have,
that is the issue. Joe, her issue is not journalism and not reviewers. She's not speaking out against criticism. She's speaking out against the lack of representation in criticism. So she's actually being supportive of an industry that Kevin Smith was being dismissive of.
Well, there's also and I've said this before. People who really buy into this, like, you look like me, we share genitalia, so you're going to be more loyal to me and give me a fairer shot. Not necessarily. All right. And like this hive mind idea that some people have that, oh, because we share this trait, everybody must think this way who shares this trait. Haven't we proved that to be bullshit in how many thousands of years of recorded history? Why must we keep learning this fucking lesson in every society that rises up and then eventually falls?
No, it's becoming that the tendency is becoming even stronger than ever, because there's a lot of people here lost in this country, a lot of atheists with nothing left to latch on to, that feel like those commonalities mean some kind of deeper bond, a connection that they're not finding in their day-to-day life. So they latch on to these ideas of waning masculinity in our society, and that, they want to be part of the tip of the spear that brings men's issues to the forefront.
And I mean, I could flip the coin and say the feminists think that, oh yeah, all this somehow there's this overarching umbrella of sisterhood that we all dwell under. No, look into the
people voted for Obama out of obligation because they too were black.
Look at the political infighting and the Machiavellian ousting of people who started the Women's March, the whole Pussy Hat bunch, and how that splintered off, and now there's 3 separate groups because one group moved in and said, well, you're not intersexual feminist enough for us. You're a Jewish white woman, so how dare you speak for gay women of color? So you need to go. And they booted the chick from her own group, so she started a splinter group, and then that group splintered off. Nonsense, folks. Nonsense. Just because someone looks like you, just because someone might want to fuck the same gender as you, does not mean they're automatically in your pocket, that you two are in lockstep together. People are individuals. Stop acting like we're a fucking hive mind. We are not the fucking Borg, all right? It's not reality. That's fantasy, and it's disgusting.
Right, but
adults that still dwell under these delusions.
It's self-fulfilling prophecy, though, because you get that reward from, you find somebody with radical ideas, and oh yeah, I believe that too, and then you're along for the ride. Now everything that this person spouts, you're right there with them because you have to be that. You are now on the same team, whether that person has your best interest in mind or not. That's the team that you signed up for.
City of Detroit, looking at you.
Well, yeah, I mean,
we do it with race, we do it with gender, we do it with everything.
Class, we do it with taste in music, we do it with what television shows do you watch? Do you even own a television? You own a television? I thought you were smarter than that. It's tiresome.
I was thinking about that when we were talking about journalism too, and how much of that industry is bullshit. Because, like, if you review a David Lynch movie and you tell me anything other than I have no idea what fucking happened, but it was beautiful, and I'm not going to believe you because you're just making shit up because you don't want to be called out as not knowing what the movie really meant. when nobody fucking knows except for David fucking Lynch.
And sometimes I think he's just making it up as he goes along.
Yes, exactly.
But have you ever look, I will say this real quick to defend the people who try to patchwork what he was trying to get across. Like in these, I'm talking essays you could spend an hour reading on the internet, and they're like, it turns into like some crazy, like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, you've thought way more about this movie than I fucking have ever thought about anything in my entire life. And it's like, I got to give them credit, people who try, because God bless you. But still, I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. What was Lost Highway about? It looked good.
What was the quote that I read by David Lynch recently? He was being interviewed and he said something like, Eraserhead was his greatest film. It was about the second coming of Jesus Christ. And their interviewer said, would you like to elaborate on that? And he goes, no.
Exactly. Look, here's the thing. Ultimately, I don't know the character of Captain Marvel all that well. In fact, I am so behind on my Marvel movies. I still haven't seen either of the Ant-Man movies, Black Panther. There's one more I haven't seen. Oh, I started to watch Thor Ragnarok, and I got distracted and had to do something else, and I never went back to it. So I'm behind. All right, but eventually I'll watch them. And just because, let's be honest here. I'm not the biggest fan of the Incredible Hulk movie. Just not. Not the biggest fan of Iron Man 2 either. There's some Marvel movies I'm like, Like Civil War, I was like, that's it? 8 people running at each other on a fucking tarmac? This is supposed to be all-out war in the Marvel Universe. This looks like a bar brawl behind, some dive bar in Detroit. This ain't. All right. So, look, I can enjoy the movie, but it's not, I'm not going to be, Aaron, it was life-changing to see a female so strong and so determined and iron-jawed. It's no, get the fuck out my face. If that's how you feel, get the fuck out your house more.
Right.
Okay?
Well, that is the issue, is that it's not that it's a female superhero. It's that it's a female superhero being played like most male superheroes and not having to give a little wink at the camera that glints with a little special effect or have, some short skirt on that you almost see her butt when she flies away.
Well, I read an article recently that to me, it struck a nerve. It said there's a lot of these feminists out here who call for a certain type of character when a woman's involved in the movie, want only a certain type. Flawless, perfect at everything, never makes a mistake, never takes a misstep. That's not a good character for fiction. All right? And they said, I can give you examples of characters who are female, who are way better characters, are deeper characters than the crap that gets pumped out and held up as like amazing by, these women who are like, as long as they're strong and they don't take shit from any man, then that's good enough for me.
Right.
Flawed characters are good characters. I don't know if you guys ever watched Shameless, but the daughter on there, she's a fucking hot mess. Nurse Jackie.
Right.
Same thing,
Well, just look at Superman and Batman. Batman is so much easier to write than Superman is, because Batman, all of his scars are on the outside. They're right there in the fucking open. They're built into his fucking costume. He's a wacko. And all you got to do is pick a few scars and see where they take you. Superman, you have to put him under the fucking microscope to find his flaws.
Yeah.
And that's the only good stories, is when you find the weakness and those pressure points that you can apply to Superman. It's a much more difficult character to crack. It's not that it can't be done, but we have never lacked for cathartic Batman stories in the history of this character.
No, not at all. Even when it was like the cheesy ass embrace the cheesy side of Batman, there was still always, man, his fucking parents got murdered in front of him, hanging over everything.
Right.
It's like, okay, Superman, hey, your planet blew up. Yeah, but it blew up when I was a baby. I don't even remember it.
Right.
You know, like, wait, yeah.
It's not even really my plan. I didn't live there.
I wasn't even there.
It's like if on a rocket. It's like if I was born actually in Ireland, and 2 days later they flew me back to America, and they're like, well, you know, Ireland's going through the troubles. And I'm like, well, my trouble right now is trying not to shit my diaper in America. I don't know what the fuck. I don't give a fuck what's going on in Ireland. Get the fuck out of here. So, I mean, to me, it's a very good point. And to me, when you start seeing characters who do have more than just one layer to them or more than one dimensional, and I don't necessarily expect that from all comic book movies. I really don't. It's escapism. Yeah. I want to go and have a good time. I want to see people being superheroes. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to
when it transcends, it does transcend. But that's not what I'm putting my dollar down for. I want to be entertained.
Exactly. I mean, like, you know, and another character they brought, you know, hey, very strong woman character in a series that there's a lot of strong women in was Cersei from Game of Thrones, and she fucks up quite frequently. In fact, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the last season, they bring a White Walker and let it loose right in front of her, and she's like, oh, shit. So when are we joining up? I've been wrong this entire time. Like, seriously, we need to kill these motherfuckers. I think
that's some of the smartest writing of that show is the way that they handle their character and how much of this is just she's flying by the seat of her pants and just purely, you know, going on faith that, well, look, I'm the mother of dragons. I can't be wrong, right? This all has to work out some way.
Yeah, so I mean, to me, that's a valid criticism that is not misogynistic. That's not based on you're threatening my masculinity. That's saying these are not well fleshed out characters necessarily, but you have to take it in the context of what movie are they in. Mm-hmm. Am I going to see a deep character study that just so happens to be a comic book movie? No. M. Night Shyamalan made 3 of those. And according to everybody that's seen all 3 of them, they're boring as fuck. I liked Unbreakable. Didn't see Split. Tried to watch Glass and fell asleep. So there you go.
Honestly, I don't know what the bigger story in this movie is going to be. I get the gist from the previews. I'm familiar enough with the character in the comics to know what they've done with that character, and a lot of this is probably going to be similar. But I think we're going to get much closer to a Superman story than we even saw in the last version of Superman, because a big part of Carol Danvers' story is her, whether they're going to make her part Kree or she was kind of given Kree powers in some fashion, depends on which story they're actually going to follow. But she has heavy ties to this alien race.
Yeah, and I did see something in the last trailer, mm-hmm. the newest trailer, I should say. As far as I know, the newest, it's until, you know, after the movie's been out for 2 weeks and they show you everything in the trailer. She's bleeding from the nose, like in the process of getting in a fight, and she's bleeding green. And I'm like,
right.
Oops, that might have gave away a little something there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I think we're going to get that story of the alien who finds the new home and then is the hero who fights for that new home. I mean, that's Superman's story. I dead nuts serious. I hope it's a good movie. I liked Avengers. Not Infinity War.
Thank you, Infinity War. I like that. And I'm like, I'm to the point where we have 10 years of these Marvel movies now. Going on, actually, we're in the 11th year of these Marvel movies now, to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
And I want to see massive amounts of superheroes in a movie because Marvel's proven and Disney's proven they can handle doing it along with having side stories told. So it does feel like it's just like reading the comic books. If I want to read Captain America, I read Captain America. But if I want to see Captain America with the Avengers, I can read the Avengers, and one doesn't shit all over the other one.
Yeah, I think Infinity War was the biggest gamble out of all these movies. That's really the only one that does rely on you having some prior knowledge in the Marvel movies to put all this together. Most of the other stuff you can kind of stand on its own.
You know, and in comparison, why I am, you know, I'm like, you know, I'll wait to see Captain Marvel before I really base my opinion, because I don't know the character that well. Just like you said, I know her from reading 40, 30-year-old comics. I don't know her newer incarnations. So I got to, you know, I'll give it a shot. I don't even give a flying fuck it a donut about this fucking new X-Men movie coming out. Like, okay, so you're going to mangle the Dark... You're going to mangle the Dark Phoenix yet again?
I can't believe it. It's like X-Men 3 all over again.
Hurry up. You know what? Release it tomorrow. Get it out the way. Hand the fucking X-Men over to Disney and let's move on. Let's just do it. Let's just do it that way. You know? Let's just get this abortion done with.
Just give it to Netflix and move on.
Yeah.
They don't even know what they're going to do with the New Mutants anymore. The movie's essentially been put on hold. There was rumors of them developing it into a TV show. Yeah, that's the last I heard. And I think that would probably be a better play for what they're trying to do. I mean, I don't know if you checked out Deadly Class at all, but it's kind of similar, like a New Mutants kind of thing, only it's like instead of a school of 6 people, it's like a legitimately full school. And instead of training to be heroes, they're training to be assassins. But yeah, if they did something like that with the New Mutants and basically made it into a grittier John Hughes type of show of teenage angst, I'd be down for that. I think they're going to fuck this up if they just try and make it into a feature film. That'll be the last time we see the New Mutants on screen for a while. Yeah, at least till someone at Disney's like, okay, so are we going to do an Alpha Flight movie or New Mutants movie? Right. Shit. They got to get pretty far down the X list before they get to New Mutants. But what? We can't do X-Force first? we'd see like a legitimately funny Excalibur movie before we saw another one. That's what I was saying, Captain Britain and shit. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, now that we've talked so much comic book shit, Bill Maher thinks we're absolutely useless human beings. Yeah, it's time to wake up Chris so he can do the outro.
Yeah, right? Hey, I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. So, yeah, what Aaron said, hit us up on Twitter. We're at UnregimentedPod. You can always email us unregimented@ChristopherMedia.net. We're on Spotify. We're on Google Play, but I'm hearing Google Play's been having issues, but we're there. At least the shows before this week are there. Who knows if it'll be there this week? It'll be there eventually. We're on Apple Podcasts. Shows drop every Saturday. We'll catch you next week.
See ya.
All right, later, guys.
Unregimented. ChristopherMedia.net.
Have you ever wondered what makes you, you?
I'm Kemp Powers, co-director and the co-writer of Disney and Pixar's new film Soul, but I am also your host for this exclusive Spotify podcast, Soul Stories. I'm going to be sitting down with the movie's cast, creators, and consultants, discussing the moments that inspired them to follow their passions, the mentors who changed their lives, and the importance of music in their journeys. Join me and the rest of the Soul team only on Spotify.
ChristopherMedia.net. If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for listening, and thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.